Naveen Kulkarni also joining us now. Naveen, good morning. Let's get your take on what we've heard so far in terms of earning commentary. We're tracking some of the big financials today as well, Axis in particular, and Bajaj Finance. What are you hoping to hear or indications that you're watching out for?
Yeah. So earnings commentary till date, I would say the results which have come out have been encouraging, right? So that's something which to take a lot of heart from. The IT results, of course, were pretty good. Even in the BFSI space, HDFC commentary was quite encouraging. The commentary on moratorium was quite encouraging. In case of Axis Bank and Bajaj Finance also, I think these numbers will be very, very keenly watched on, right? So one is, of course, the moratorium numbers, how they are panning out, right? So that's, I think, is going to be very, very critical, and commentary on that, how banks are actually envisaging these numbers to pan out from here on, whether there is a meaningful reduction that they are started to witness, and moreover, when the growth is going to come back. So that's going to be a very, very critical factor, right? So these are the, I think, key factors that everybody would be focused on from the bigger results.
Okay. What about IT, Naveen? Let's talk about that as well. I noticed that you're quite, you have a few of those names in your basket. And, given the kind of results and commentary we've had from the IT majors, what's the potential you're seeing there? And if you could highlight a couple of the stocks that you in particular are bullish on.
See, the IT sector, of course, has recovered pretty much very, very well, I would say. So, and the commentary for the next 9 months is quite encouraging, right? So, Infosys results definitely stood out big time. So, there was significant beat all around. Moreover, the guidance was something which was very, very encouraging. So, that clearly stands out. Apart from that, interesting factor is that the deal wins are also happening, right? So that's another interesting play, right? So typically, what you expect from IT companies is this: that there is a deal pipeline which is already there. It was built up over the years, and that is what provides revenue visibility. But the future revenues are dependent on what deals that are won now, right? And the deals which are happening now. So I think that's where I think the sector has actually stood out, right? So that's where we are seeing a lot of activity happening. That's one. Second is, of course, the currency tailwind is still there, right? So that's another factor which is actually supportive. So IT sector is one of those sectors which is actually a growth sector right now. And if I were to look at FY21, there will be some earnings growth. FY22, there will be reasonably decent earnings growth. So taking all these factors into account, IT is a significant overweight position for investors now. In terms of stocks, of course, Infosys is clearly a consensus buy, and one should have it in the portfolio. Apart from the Infosys, we do continue to like HCL Tech, reasonably valued. Growth is decent. Numbers were a slight beat. Apart from that, we also like Mindtree, right? So in the mid cap space. So there are a fair number of stocks to look at in the IT space to pick and choose and to allocate. So that's something which is quite comforting factor from the sector.
Naveen, hi there. Good morning. What a fabulous performance it's been from Britannia. And you did hear out the management talk about the cost cutting initiatives, and they are fairly confident that there can be a follow through as well in this kind of a healthy performance. Is there a lot more conviction now towards the FMCG space, or would you be increasing allocation to names within this sector?
See, FMCG was a sector where we had already allocated, right? So right from the beginning, if you look at the typical themes that we were looking at, one was, of course, digital, right? Whether one wants to play it from telecom as an angle or IT as an angle, right? That is one theme. Second, of course, was staples, right? So staples is something which will continue to be very much in is one of the first sectors to be recovering pretty much to normal levels, and also something which will start seeing growth because the unorganized to organized, all those themes will play out. So staples was always there as part of allocation, whether you look at Hindustan Unilever, whether you look at Britannia or Nestle, right? And foods companies have stood out even more because of stocking and other aspects. However, the interesting aspect here is that while these things are easy to say that these things should have happened, but the company actually managing to deliver in terms of managing the supply chain and the efficiencies which are to come through, right? I think that's one of the greatest factors, I think, where Britannia has actually stood out, right? So not just things happening, but having the goods in the market, having the supply chain in this kind of an environment well oiled, right? And also managing the cost, right? So I think Britannia ticks pretty much all the boxes. So whether we are going to allocate further, I would say that we were already overweight, so we may not allocate further, but we would still be holders for all these companies, even at reasonably high valuations that they are trading right now. So Britannia is closer to 50 times FY22, right, which is quite expensive by all means. But even then, we will continue to be holders for Britannia, continue to be holders for Hindustan Unilever. So that's the idea that we are working with.
Great. Okay, Naveen, we'll let you go on that note. Thanks as always for taking the time out and speaking with us.